So what happens if you wake up totally sick or distracted on test day? That's what we're going to suss out in this video. My name's Kristina of Ivy Lounge Test Prep, and for the past 15 years, I have helped students all over the globe dramatically raise their SAT and ACT test scores and ultimately land spots at the colleges of their dreams. So do me a favor and close your eyes for a moment. No, like really, like close your eyes. Okay, they're closed? Awesome. So picture this scenario. Okay. You dedicated huge chunks of your junior year to prepping for the ACT or the SAT. On top of your honors and AP's classes and your leadership positions in various athletic, artistic, and volunteer extracurriculars, you've also had to find time in your schedule for weekly standardized test tutoring sessions and related studying. So you have learned everything. You've learned like all the, number properties, algebra, geometry, algebra 2. You perfected all your grammar rules. You've learned all the science section strategies and vocab words, reading section strategies for different question types, right? Maybe you've practiced all sorts of like claims questions for the reading writing on the digital SAT. So you've learned to juggle all of these disparate types of learning, took practice tests, then you took mock tests, and finally on test day, you still bombed. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So maybe you were taking the ACT. So everything was just not going as planned, right? You opened up the reading section and first thing you see is like some double passage that you like could not comprehend, literally about like the suffrage movement and its significance. And then at least you think that's what it was about. Like you literally don't remember what it was about. And then the social science passage ate up like way more time than the 8 minutes, 45 seconds that you were supposed to spend on it. And you had to like guess on the last five questions. And so now you're so frazzled and like your confidence is tattered, right? So now you enter the science section and you feel like this giant ball of anxiety and you forgot to practice your 3 points of contact or your page turn zen strategy to calm down. And you couldn't stay focused, right? You like half your attention was still stuck on suffragettes and you basically gave up kind of towards the end of the science section and several questions you totally had to guess on. Okay. Or maybe you were taking the digital SAT and you just like you felt sick to your stomach like physically, right? And all morning, like maybe it was stress, maybe you ate something, I don't know, like third helping of pancakes, who knows. And you had no choice but to like literally leave in the middle of the second module of the reading writing, right? You had no choice. And then you come back and you race, you try to finish it, you don't finish all the questions, and now you've moved on to the math and you're a mess, right? Now you're not even thinking about trying to find the number of solutions to a system of linear equations because you're like, oh my God, I just bombed the reading writing. While both of these seem like test nightmares, and yes, they are, right? The universe can be cruel in its timing, right? Perhaps your aunt passed away the night before, or you're in a fight with your best friend, or I'm not even joking because this happened to a student once. She literally started to like pass gallstones in the middle of the ACT science section, right? Or maybe you wake up and you start to feel like the tickle in your throat of like COVID coming on. Okay. Or maybe you're fine physically and emotionally, but you just happen to get like a bad test. Like for some reason, just like none of the English questions in the ACT were clicking for you. And you're like, I don't understand what's happening. They asked me a matrix in question 14 in the math. Like, this is a super hard section. I've never had one this hard. And it just like throws you off your game for the rest of the test. Okay. And unfortunately, if it's like the ACT, that really crappy section like gets averaged with the others, so you end up with like the same composite score that you had before. And yeah, so I get it. Sometimes things happen even when you're physically and emotionally okay. So in short, what I want to get you to understand, okay, is even if we do everything that we quote should do to get ourselves right to like test day success, sometimes stuff just happens. Okay. So while the thought of a random curveball is enough to like make some students say, like, what's the actual point anyway? Like, if I can do everything right and still I get like the crappy test or the test with the crappy curve where you miss 3 questions and you're already down to a 710, right? What's the point of doing anything at all? So let me answer that in just a second. So right now, I have a question for you. And that question is, has that ever happened to you where you literally, like, you know, in your heart of hearts, you did everything you were supposed to. You did everything your tutor said, or you're self-studying, and you like did all the questions, you learned all the material. You did mock tests, you went over them. You like looked at exactly what you were getting wrong and everything. And then you take another test and it's like, what the heck just happened? It's just like aliens came and took my brain and I just performed so poorly. So if that's ever happened to you, write it down in the comments. I promise you, you are not alone. Okay. I promise you. And you will find that with the other comments there. And while you're at it, just go ahead and like this video and also subscribe to my channel, Kristina from Ivy Lounge Test Prep. And then that way you will be the first to know whenever I post my weekly updates on the SAT, the ACT, or college application essays. Okay, so we're back, right? You're wondering like if I can do everything right and stuff still happens, what's the point? I have two things to say to you. One, there are some things you simply cannot control on test day, but there are way more things that you can. Okay. So you are the master of how much effort you put into preparing. You know, if you know the test inside and out, right? And you get a curveball thrown at you. Imagine how much worse it would have been if you literally had never cracked open a test prep book or a course or a video before, and then you had a curveball thrown at you, right? So, if you've done everything you can and then had an emergency, hey, at least you were fully prepared. It would have been worse. So you were also the master of most of your well-being and mindset. Like, did you get enough sleep? Did you eat a hearty breakfast of foods that nourish you and leave you energized, right? Before the test? Did you leave yourself enough time to shower, do a warm up question set, and get to the testing center with lots of time to spare? Or were you sprinting? You barely made it in time before they shut the doors. Now you're frazzled and you're forgetting how to spell your own last name. Did you do a power pose or 3 points of contact to settle your nerves before you entered the test room? Did you indulge in negative thoughts of, oh, who cares? What's the point? I'm never going to get the score. Or instead, did you opt for optimistic mantras like, I've got this, I can do this, I did this in practice, I can do this on the real day? Right? So a good mindset, as you know, goes a very, very long way in helping you get the score you need, even in shoddy conditions. Okay. So that's number one. Yeah, some things you can't control, but way many more things you can control. Okay. And number two, I just want to be real. Flubbing one test is just not the end of the world. It isn't. And I literally am a test prep professional and I've been helping students do this for 15 years. Okay. So first of all, both the ACT and the SAT allow you to do score choice. Now you have to check if the colleges on your list will allow you to do score choice, but both of the companies themselves will allow you to send just one test score or two or whatever and not send the one where you bombed. So that's the first thing is many schools do score choice, so you can pretend you never bombed, right? And then the other thing is many colleges are also doing super scoring for the SAT and for the ACT. So maybe you don't have to perform perfectly in one test setting. Maybe you can do it over multiple test dates and cobble together the section scores you need. Okay. So we have those two things that we can use. And then also keep in mind, like these days, most students take the SAT or the ACT, whichever choice is their test, at least 2 or 3 times. Like that is normal. Many take it more than that. It is very, very rare for someone to be one and done. It just like is so rare. It's like you just happen to hit it out of the ballpark literally on your first try and you exceeded all your expectations. And you're like, I've never even done that well in practice. I don't know how I'd even get better. Like that doesn't happen too often. It happens maybe like I get a lot of students who will take the test and score it out of the park or get their target scores in one shot, like maybe like once a year this happens. But even a lot of them will still want to take the test a second time just to see if any section might get better and if their super score can improve. So that's the other thing, right? If you've done any planning, if you've watched other videos of mine, if you've been on my blog, if you've worked with me, you know that we have a testing timeline. We basically figure out in your plan to have multiple test dates and backup options because it's very normal to take the test multiple times. So if you flub one, honestly, who cares? We kind of planned for it. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait, what if catastrophe literally happens every single time I sit for a test? Okay, I have a story. Sadly, it is a real story of a past student. Okay. So for her, I'm going to call her Emma because I don't believe in using real names. But Emma had one medical emergency after the other. Okay. So she was the person who literally was passing the gallstones during the science section of the ACT and in the bathroom in pain. That was her. So she still though, improved several ACT points over time because neither hell nor high water could undo the incredible work and preparation she had done throughout the course of a year with me. Okay. So, and with super scoring, she got to a 32 on the ACT. So while we both knew that like she could have done a 34, she had done a 34 on like multiple practice tests, it was just not in the cards for her physical health. There was always an issue, like a debilitating migraine, the gallstones. At one time, I think there was a window open at her test center and someone was like banging on drums outside the window and she couldn't focus. Like something was always happening. Okay. So even with that, she still locked in roughly 70% of her gains. Now, I call that a success story. Okay. Because with persistence and hard work, she wasn't able to get ultimately what we knew she could do, but she came pretty darn close and she still got into a great college that she loved. Okay. So if this is you, remember, you did everything that was within your power. Okay. And given the circumstances, you did the very best you could do. And that's all you can do, right? Emergencies strike and, they're rare, but they happen. But if you can learn like stress management and having perspective, those two things last you forever. So, speaking of learning how to manage your stress, if you'd like a lot more concrete tips on how to do that, then you have some options. One is you can sign up to work with me directly, links in the show notes, but you can go to my website, you can contact me. I've helped students again for like 15 years now who run the gamut from confident, they just need to learn actual like math and grammar, or total paralyzed by test anxiety, but we not only teach them what they need to know, but I also get their mind over the big hump of being anxious about the test so they can get the score. Okay. But if that's not in the cards or that's not in your budget or you just don't want to work with anyone, you want to do things on your own, I actually have an online course that might be perfect for you. It's called Unlock SAT and ACT Testing Confidence. So it's a totally digital, self-directed video class that will help you slay the dragon of test anxiety. So I walk you through over a dozen tricks and strategies for like keeping calm and testing on. So if you like the calming refrains of what today's video had to offer, just imagine what kind of work and what kind of scores you could get with loads more of them. Check it out in the link below.